of Zakarpattia region. This is the first wooden church that we managed to restore within the Great Restoration Program of President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky, said Viktor Mikita, the head of the Zakarpattia Regional State Administration. More than $5 million was provided from the state budget for this project. It was developed and co-financed by Kolocheva Territorial Community. As reported, in May 2021, the Ministry of Culture and Information Policy of Ukraine published a list of cultural heritage sites selected under the Great Restoration State Program. Latvia will send weapons to Ukraine Defense Minister.
Latvian Defense Minister Artis Pabriks has assured Ukrainian Ambassador Alexander Mishchenko that the Baltic country will provide assistance to Ukraine in the form of weapons.
Latvian Defense Minister Artis Pabriks has assured Ukrainian Ambassador Alexander Mishchenko that Baltic country will provide assistance to Ukraine in the form of weapons and military equipment, according to Dnjaz SMLV, as Tikamus Zinas.
Latvian Defense Minister Artis Pabriks has assured Ukrainian Ambassador Alexander Mishchenko that the Baltic country will provide assistance to Ukraine in the form of weapons and military equipment, according to the news site LSMLV Uzticamas ziņas.
The two met on the 5th of January and agreed on the content of the humanitarian cargo to be sent to Ukraine. The report said, "There will be weapons and equipment. We will do that, and we call on our allies in Europe to do the same, because Ukraine has the right and is able to defend itself. Ukraine largely diffuses tensions from our own borders, from our region. And although Ukraine is not a member of NATO, it is our ally. In fact, they are defending us," Pabriks said. The media outlet reports that Latvia has previously provided broad support to Ukraine, including financial and humanitarian assistance, rehabilitation of the wounded, and support for the chaplaincy service. Kyiv's Pechersky District Court freezes assets of ex-President Poroshenko the 6th of January 2022 15:50. The Pechersky District Court of Kyiv granted the motion to freeze the assets of ex-President Petro Poroshenko within the case over coal supplies from the temporarily occupied areas of Donetsk and Luhansk regions. The relevant judgment was made by investigating Judge Vita Bortnitska on the 6th of January. Poroshenko's lawyer Igor Helovan told journalists after the court hearing. Investigating Judge Bortnitska granted the motion to freeze the assets of Petro Poroshenko, he said. According to Helovan, the full text of the judgment will be read out on the 14th of January. The defense team plans to file an appeal against this ruling, the lawyer added. Helovan noted that the court froze Poroshenko's assets indicated in his declaration. As reported, Poroshenko is currently abroad and plans to return to Ukraine on the 17th of January. Earlier it became known that the Prosecutor General's office approved a motion to choose a pre-trial restraint for former President Petro Poroshenko in the form of arrest with a bail set at $1 billion. In addition, who was the last Plantagenet king? Richard III. What is the coolest obscure historical fact you... Way back in ancient Greece, in early to mid 300 BC, there lived a courtesan What is the coolest obscure historical fact you know? Way back in ancient Greece, in early to mid 300 BC, there lived a courtesan named Phryne. This painting of her, obviously done long after her death, may seem kind of weird at first, but I assure you that all will be explained. Also, her name wasn't actually Phryne, it was really Nesserite, to commemorate virtue, which would become slightly ironic. But people called her Phryne, aka Toad, because of her yellowish complexion. I personally would not appreciate being called Toad, but whatever makes you happy, I guess. She was known to be incredibly beautiful. Like several people have written about how stunning she was. She is supposed to have inspired several paintings and statues of Aphrodite, including this one. For which she apparently modeled. She was also supposed to be incredibly rich, which, if she really was that beautiful, doesn't seem too far-fetched considering her profession. But she is best known for her trial. Unfortunately, most things about it are kind of vague. We don't know for certain what exactly she was charged with or what she did to be charged, but it was apparently something along the lines of blasphemy and piety. Whatever it was, the important fact is that if she was found guilty, Phryne would be executed. She was defended by one of her lovers, an orator named Hyperides, who came up with a defense that can only be described as genius. So back to the trial. The prosecution gave their speech, apparently a very good one, and it became clear that things were not looking good for Phryne. Hyperides decided that he would in fact need to go forward with his idea. He called Phryne up and had her stand in front of the judges before pulling her robes off and saying something to the effect of, "Well, I hope you're willing to kill this." Obviously, this would not go down well in a modern courtroom, but in ancient Greece this actually made a bit of sense. You see, people who were incredibly beautiful were supposed to have been blessed by the gods. So Hyperides was essentially asking a group of very religious men whether they wanted to kill someone for blasphemy who had clearly been so blessed by the gods. Though I'm sure that there may have been some ulterior motives. And it worked. Phryne was acquitted and seemed to live a pretty long life. There is, naturally, some speculation that the trial didn't happen quite this way. Another theory put forward is that Phryne simply cried and begged for her life to each individual judge, and they were so touched that they decided to let her go. But where's the fun in that? William's wife was Matilda of Flanders, who was the great X5 granddaughter.
Okay, you could pause the recording for a bit if it gives you the option.